Yep, it's your favorite N-word, and welcome back to the Troutstone era. This time I will be telling you a story about Tribe Gunzeca, the golden people with the golden guns on a golden spaceship to spread gold all over the universe. They are quite awesome, probably the most awesome, and here we go. That thing, 9,092 years old, a god jellyfish, made of translucent gold with the colors of pink, carnation, azure, baby blue, and pale green in the mix. It's located in its own bay of the spaceship. It's been with Tribe Gunzeca since their birth, all the way back in year 4032. The 6 originals were on a quest as the standard Gunzeca team of 6. 2 munitions experts, support expert, security expert, secret weapon, and paparazzi. Every generation has reflected this model. They had a good amount of missions under their belts as a new superhero league in their first year of work. At this time, they were on a forming planet, a rather beautiful one, but with hazardous zones, but they are worth the sights if you're with the right caravan. Tribe Gunzeca were there, and so was that thing, trying to see them sights. It was glowing, positively delightful to an uppercutting max of a 101 hit combo. That kind of excitement caused a hilarious conversation with a group of strangers in that station. So they said yes to that thing, and during the whole trip, it got to see what it wanted. Oh yeah, it's a he. My bad, posing as Gennaro Vampore, looking very handsome, with very golden hair. Clothes were a little jazzy, and they let him have it, but he gave it back. This group of people were mad new to him. He has never met such lovely humans who are willing to poke fun at strangers in an innocent way, but feel ultimately harmless with it. He liked their sense of humor immediately, so he paid it forward by doing the same. Before I digress all the way, that thing saw colors in the sky that it has never seen. Even froze himself in time for 10 days to soak it in and paint it. A powerful aged god it is, and was even tearing up as he was painting it. When he was done, he finally turned back around to notice that Tribe Gunzeca was looking at the view and telling him there it is, and remembered when he turned around to the unforgettable moment. Felt like he didn't need their protection. But there they were, with a specific look on their faces, and he felt that they were telling him to enjoy the view, but their senses were on full alert, using their powers in a combined fashion to survey a mile radius around the vehicle. Their hands were on the handle, and their other hand on the sidearm. Later, much later, when they were done with all of the danger zones and reaching the destination, that thing wanted to see their spaceship. They said okay, and told him that he's going to love it. They all laughed all the way from there. Then that thing saw colors it has never seen together, like that. Was amazed, was astounded at how they treated their crew, and asked if he needed to go anywhere else. After all that money he just paid them, they thought he could use a freebie or 3. He felt amazed that they would offer up their services again, then decided to ask if it could stay permanently. Did a little glimmer into the future, and thought they could use more protection when they slow down. That thing didn't know the locations they would go, but it liked the names. Relationship eventually transformed into a friendship, then a protection ship, especially when that thing realized that they were planning on recreating their Super League by grabbing 6 similar empower orphans. During the 10 years he was with them, he saw them elevate into aerologists, pediatricians, and parental figures, using their fame to help with all artificial intelligence mutinies and sometimes monsters. When they made the announcement, he felt like it was time to tell them the truth. They took it well, and they were like, well, that explains all the gold glitter. They laughed and hardy hard like true pirates, including that thing. Then he told them its preferred name. Oh, they laughed and hardy hard some goddamn more. They were like, y'all want some Hennessy after all that hooting and hollering? They had a splendid night that night. It was unforgettable that night, and that thing saw colors it has never seen together like that night. painted that scenario that night, continued painting that scenario throughout the generations. It's its thing. Every generation has a big old canvas painting of themselves, paints with 6 brushes every time, masterfully creating works of art of Tribe Gunzeca, and has never thought about resting. It's year 8124 now, a handful of years shy of the next generation reaching their 100 years mark. Preparing to be sad again, but preparing for another generation someday. To see kids of the super various kind being taken care of, taken away from unfortunate circumstances. To be able to live and have the opportunity to help others live. It's golden in that ship. It's even golden outside of the ship. And that thing will always be happy because of it. Onward to the current generation of Gunzeca. Exxo, age 9, of Taiwanese descent. Unfortunate circumstances of his parents' disappearance deemed them lost in space. He was only 6 when this happened. He knows a lot about his parents and was looking forward to flying around like a dragon with his father someday. The home of waterfalls welcomed him with hugs, then asked what would he like first. He simply wanted as much of the belongings of his parents as possible. They made that happen, and his room ended up chock full of things until they taught him how to let go. Doing this set up his emotional lobe for excellence. Teaching him how to create strong memories of his parents allowed for him to start throwing things away. And the result of that, close to the time Gunzeca was coming around to scoop him and envy up, had him acting as if he was a completely sane kid, full of energy, full of life, full of adventure, and already tapping into his powers. He was just about to sign a contract with the Super Being Surveillance Program, but that was halted when he met Trezugo, just laughing his life away with one of the adults as Trezugo walked up, trying to get in on the laughter. Immediate friends, it seemed. Immediate into the family he went. Been perfectly set since. He's the secret weapon of Tribe Gunzeca, Galactic Class 1-man army and gunman hero. His superpower is Pollution Dragon. Envy, age 9, of Nigerian descent. She was so young when it happened, so naive, but the memory of her parents being killed in front of her is the freshest thing in her head. From hearing them say her name, screaming while defending her, and exploding their abode with intentions of protecting their daughter. All she can see is a black smoky figure that was there the whole time, that did nothing the whole time. It's always standing in front of her, near her, but never standing in her way. This is a spirit, the one that looks over her mother's lineage, but at the time of their slaying, it couldn't do anything because of all of the power her mother was using. So it's constantly stuck in that state, and Gallica saw it as soon as Envy was first in her range of sight. Per the afterlife charms she was harnessing, per the dossier on the little girl. The spirit acknowledged Gallica when Gallica looked her straight in the eyes and told her that Envy is safe now. It was the first time since her parents' death at the tender age of 4 that it hasn't been haunting her. Envy immediately warmed up to Gallica, and the rest of her history was spent becoming a weapon of mass destruction for the greater goods around the worlds. Envy will never forget that car ride. She's the security expert of Tribe Gunzeca, one-woman army and gun-woman Shiro. Her superpower is afterlife. Bacon, 10 years old, of African descent. Parents lost due to a freak terrorist attack. Admitted to Agency of the Lost. An orphanage for the superpowered in Galaxy 12. 5 years old was when it all happened. From a rarity of 2 parents with the same zoanthrope genes to not having either of them. Life would have been so much easier with the both of them guiding him through his powers. When Rixor was surveying all of the dossiers of orphans around the stars, his stuck out to hers the most, because she can prevent him from becoming a villain. Same thing happened to her. Same circumstances of matching parents. With the 2 of them having the same superpower of Armada, she could teach him all the explosives his parents couldn't. It was his saving grace. Upon picking him up, she wanted to get him a fireworks show. It was the most marvelous thing he saw, and he still has those 3-dimensional shades in his room. He's one of the munitions expert of Tribe Gunzeca. Galactic Class 1-man army and hero. His superpower is Warthog Armada. Yikesville and Zadreggus, age 10, of Dutch and Mandarin descent. These two are a rare pair. Both of their parents were a super being couple in two different superhero leagues. Both died in the same instance, resulting in a lost in space tragedy of more than 10 heroes. They tried in the midst of 4 days to resurrect them as hard as they possibly could, but nothing was bringing them back. Off to the Yi Manarong they went. An orphanage of wings is what that name means. They already had their wings and they weren't even 3 yet. With no recollection of their parents whatsoever, they only had the knowledge of their superhero existence to believe in. They portrayed their fathers, started to portray them way before they turned 10. Tapped into their powers and had the orphanage known for making orphans and the super beings a little bit more famous. Mr. Bragg and Verika showed up to scoop them up at the same time after a childhood tournament shined light on them again. Zadreggus was always heading in the direction of bountyhood while Yikesville was heading in the direction of journalism, but both having secondary agendas of becoming superheroes. They liked it. Yikesville. He's the paparazzo of Tribe Gunzeca, Galactic Class 1-man army and hero. Superpower is X crystallization. Zadreggus. One of the munitions experts of Tribe Gunzeca, Galactic Class 1-man army and hero. His superpower is Platypus Armada. Quinnly, age 13, of Scandinavian descent. He had hit puberty a week before Tribe Gunzeca could finally locate the orphanage he was located in. They heard about what happened when he hit puberty, caused a lot of damage to the space colony. Lots. Only because he didn't know how to control his powers. Heaven as a superpower is dimensional based. Fortunate for everybody, no one was lost, but people had to be resurrected, and he at least resurrected one person. That's the main thing Danger Rock focused on when reading his dossier. 5% of the space colony was affected by his coming of age. 5% of the space colony disappeared afterwards. The images of the disaster were top secret, but Gunzeca saw them as soon as they got within range of the space colony. All of them had a spit take because of all of the heaven that was seen in the moment his powers came in. Even though Quinnly was completely conscious during the moment he turned 13, he didn't see the entire area he affected. Amongst all of the cloaked people standing in the area he changed, Gunzeca could spot the preceding generation. The 6 people that chose them were in the very center of everything as the cameras caught glimpses of all of the angels' faces. Gunzeca paid money to have those images removed from all corners of their database. All. Then Danger Rock met Quinnly and gave him a hug just cause, then asked him if he'd like a new home. He's the support expert of Tribe Gunzeca, Galactic Class 1-man army, and hero. His superpower is heaven. Before Quinnly joined them, they weren't allowed to see what their new guardians did for humanity. Now that he's here, he gets to get fitted for a mystery too. But the kids put it together that they were going to be the next generation of Gunzeca. Like clockwork, they all decided to research it and become a true team because the real team chose right. Exxo, Envy, Bacon, Yikesville, Zadreggus, and Quinnly meshed well every time a new kid was added to the family. Tests 1 through 10 proved that they chose right like their predecessors. It was as if Mr. Bragg, Danger Rock, Trey Zugo, Verika, Rixor, and Gallica were looking at themselves. Crazy how time has come and gone. Crazy how they are all still there. Crazy how they came up with their code names at 13 and never turned them off. Yikesville added more words to everyone's vocab. Quinnly always vowed that they would make it back home safely. Exxo tripled down so hugs and kisses could be established for a lifetime. Zadreggus was a fan of the original Zadreggus that brought the fictional legend to reality. Bacon had all Battlefield smelling like his name, and Envy had all of them wishing they knew all of them secrets too. The 5 directions their positions cover is a game plan a lot of other factions have copied over the millennia. Gunzeca ensures that they are always the best. Their contacts in the Super Being surveillance program helped the kids understand every year the different types of strategy when it comes to machinery handling. So many advancements they took advantage of to ensure that their siblings always came back home alive, to fight another machinery uprising whenever one was on the horizon, to leave gold glitter where they conquer for the loveliness of simple views. They started the tradition of staring off into golden hours, because machinery uprisings should never make it to nightfall. The beauty in that status quo was caught by all 6 newbies, and upon their first mission, officially at the tender ages of 21, they passed with a Q rank, came back home to their guardians with huge smiles on their faces and tears sitting pretty on their lashes. Kept it a fresh, strong state from then on out. Jinnique, age 23, of Arabian descent. While she was repairing a space colony all by herself, the old head saw her while the youngins were on a mission. Jinnique repaired the giant area of the ship all by her own magical might that is linked to space metal and vegetation. Summoning magical leaves then transforming them into visorium allows for her to simply repair a hole. The hole was mad huge, took her 45 minutes, and it was a speed job, so she can get the payout, then do whatever's next. Which happened quite quickly, because there was a spaceship docked on a space colony at that time that needed repairs. Repaired the damage over 30 minutes of work after expending so much magical might already. All 6 of the preceding generation appeared behind her when she stepped back to look at the hole she was repairing. They asked her all kinds of things that revolved around her techniques of repairing space metal. They offered her a job, but at that time, she didn't know any of the new generation, which happened to be at the same age as her. If she only had knew of Yikesville, Quinnly, and Bacon, she would have declined in a very gentle manner. If it wasn't for Zadreggus, Envy, and Exxo, it would have been a hell of a situation. But there she was, took a contract with them for a year, then decided to stay regardless of how crazy Tribe Gunzeca got. She's a galactic-class space mechanic, one-woman army, green mage of the Unav, and spell work expert of Tribe Gunzeca. Superpower is hexenry. Categories: electricity, visorium, vegetation, and life. All traditions get additions. None stay traditional forever, but something happened in their 23rd year of life. In Jinnique's time with TG, she studied their history. What she discovered was that thing, been hidden from the crew of the ship for 4,000 years, but it took her a year to find out what on earth that golden fucking feeling was. That's how she described it, because the entirety of the ship is pretty much gold, but there was more than just gold on that ship. Her magical leaf game made it so, and because she figured out that thing, it offered her something she couldn't refuse. A sit down with the original Gunzeca. Somehow, some way, she got the current generation in on it too. That thing was nervous because it never has an intention of keeping its secret through force. Day 244 was when she first caught the nigga in the void of the ship that's not on the blueprints. She was digging. Digging so good, she damn near turned into a dentist because that thing was simply eating on a candy bar talking about, "No, Trezugo, you cannot get any of my candy bars. I advise you to be patient till we get back to the Luigi dimension, my hitter." Ugh! Turned around. Whole gold jellyfish turned red because it was embarrassed, and somebody other than the Gunzeca saw him in his jellyfish form. The first time in 4,000 years. Jinnique was talking about, "Why aren't you in Edge?" That thing was so caught off, it summoned everyone of her generation suddenly, regardless of what they were doing. And they were doing a lot. Envy was in a compromising position with Exxo. Yikesville was in a compromising position with Zadreggus. Bacon was rapping loud while showering, and Quinnly was getting them noodles on their fork. Boy, he was eating, but not anymore. All of them were like, "Oh no," for multiple reasons. And it was hilarious as Jinnique closed her eyes and turned all the way around. The awkwardness of all that was just that, and there was a deliberation because that thing didn't want to tell the preceding generation because it felt mad embarrassed. and felt like it betrayed the pact it made with Gunzeca. It had ample amounts of time never being exposed, and now someone outside of the blood oaths know. Unnecessarily afraid of no consequences, but afraid nonetheless. Who honestly knew, cause Jinnique has so much power in her spells that she's an untouchable mortal at most times. 244 days of not knowing nothing but a godly golden presence, and found it. Had that thing freezing time again with just those 7, and it was like it turned into a kid trying to keep a secret from his parents. There the original Gunzeca stood, safely stored in his god memory just a version of them that exists, not their actual spirit. They have moved on eons ago. So, Jinnique figured that a good question like what time it is would prove that. They said year 4032, in short. They marveled at what time it was and was proud of the scantily clad generation that appropriately and hilariously introduced themselves. Still, that thing was blushing red. Jinnique happens to be a historian here and there though. Did some soul searching while pacing back and forth to see if they can give her an unsolved mystery around that time. Just hear me out. Another magical leaf appears. She asked them all to hold it. Then she took it from them to gather some essence, and they told her some shit after she asked some shit, and there was so many draws dropping about some treasures she pulled from existence with a simple ass spell of knowing time. That wowed the original 6. They were Lip Luscious, the paparazzi, Visceral, munitions, Ninjury, secret weapon, Briggsley, security, Skyscraper, support, and Optimus Brute, munitions. It was then and there they wrote a new law for the Super League to involve a spellbinder, because the things she did for them, just 23, evolved their operations to a more maximum output. It was the dawn of a new superhero league, made them more golden, made it so they could get around the cosmos faster. I apologize though. The originals asked Jinnique was it okay if she would be their first spellwork expert. Eventually, that thing turned into his human form to apologize to Jinnique for what happened. She was like, no bigs, but I think I see what tipped me off about you. Walks up to him, asks, may I? He says okay, then she gives him a hug, and when they let go of each other, she sees all of the gold glitter she had seen on their biscuits and rolls. The ones they be having at breakfast and dinner. Sometimes lunch, but the menu, dude, it's all butter. Now anyway, she tasted the magic in their bakery and simply followed the trail. Way past all of the dead ends too. Just kept digging, and now she understands why they are all so chummy. Totally gets it. Part of their fold sense. Now, before I end this folklore piece, I want you to see the galaxy map of the Crimson Collective and where all of the characters were born. I'm going to start with the preceding generation. They all come from different galaxies and dimensions. Yet, the Super Being Surveillance Program had their eyes on all of them, and their dossiers were in the hand of their preceding generation for a mighty long time before they got scooped up into their fold. Side note, all super beings in this universe are documented. Even as kids, they have a lot of information in the dossiers. Now moving along. They are in their coasting years, about 7 years before their death date. A mighty long life they have lived, and they are enjoying the reflecting. They know that the next generation will keep the most gold spaceship the most high. The secret Gunzeca has with turning orphans into heroes lies with a huge number of things. The list is general friendliness, hugs, golden food, shooting their first gun, and space tripping. In the midst of all that, when they train the new kids, they see the heritage of all good guys cause Gunzeca stays collaborating on the battlefields. When the kids get a taste of meeting other heroes and seeing them in action, they are convinced to be a Gunzeca, out of a 100% capacity. Besides, their golden costumes will have you feeling avant-garde for the rest of your life. And that's on every single time they get fitted. Their costumes have never changed. They never change the lineup. It's always one paparazzi, two munitions, a support, a security expert, and a secret weapon. 4032 to 8124. A long amount of time, several different generations, but they don't name their generations. It's always the elder generation. They retire around 60, 70, and they go look for if I could talk right, they look for the next generation around the time they're 50. Practice heroism so they can see it for about 10 to 15 years, and then they get ready to train them. As well as already training them as soon as they pick them up and, get them used to the life of the super beings and things. In the Gunzeca tribe, they are quite outrageous. I hope you understood that from the story, cause the amount of sense of humor that they have, and they always try to joke in how Yikesville always running off at the mouth, Quinnly is always running off at the mouth, and Bacon is always running off at the mouth. Those three have that sense of humor that is very offensive. The other three and Jinnique, they have a sense of humor, but they aren't offensive like them. And it's been that way. It's half ridiculousness, half joke till you fall. And they have a great reputation with everybody. They are a stupendously powerful group with this particle cannon design that is ridiculous. The gun is gold plated. Their suits are gold plated. The spaceship is gold all the way through. And it's quite lovely. And it's just a coincidence that they chose, they met a guy that was pretty much golden, and he decided to stay with him. But until the next time, you keep it golden too. Yo, nigga! Terrence Prescott Barnes. Mwah.